When you clean up your diet and start eating real food, it's the sauces, dressings, and toppings that can make an otherwise bland meal exciting. That's why Mark, who created Primal Kitchen condiments and dressings to add uncompromising delicious flavor to every single bite. At home, I totally use and love the mayo avocado oil. It's great because it's cage-free eggs, it's sugar-free, it's soy and canola-free, dairy-free, gluten-free, it's paleo-friendly, it applies for keto, but honestly, it's just delicious. There's no junk in it, so it allows you to feel healthy without knowing all the secret things that are in other stuff. This stuff has none of it. They're a sponsor of Powerful Ladies, and if you shop on their website, primalkitchen.com, use coupon code POWERFULLADIES to get 10% off.
Holy crap. I can't believe that this is my job that I made for myself. Like, I created this thing, and now people are trusting me to do this and hiring me to do this and spending money on this.
That's Ryann Gaspara, and this is the Powerful Ladies Podcast. Hey guys, I'm your host, Cara Duffy, and this is the Powerful Ladies Podcast, where I invite my favorite humans, the awesome, the up to something, and the extraordinary to come and share their story. These are people that inspire me and remind me that everything is possible. I hope that you will be left entertained, inspired, and moved to take action towards living your most powerful life. Ryann Gaspara is the badass entrepreneur owner of Gaspara Flora. What started as a custom wedding gifting company and transformed into a custom corporate gifting company and has expanded again to include bespoke hotel luxury amenities. She's a fierce supporter of women entrepreneurs and that creating something that matters for you, your customers, and the end consumer is what really matters. Ryann and I met through our great friend, Allie Wynn, when we all ran the Southern California Ragnar race together. Ragnars are a 12-person, 2-van, 200-mile relay race, which means you're stuck in a van together for 36 hours plus, while everyone runs more than they ever would with limited food and sleep. So you kind of get to know each other. Since then, thanks to social media and running the race again the next year, we become part of each other's boss lady cheer team. She's super inspiring, a loyal friend, and really authentic on both this episode and on social media about the great and the ugly of being an entrepreneur and running a small business. She's a living, breathing, powerful lady. On this episode, she shares her story from starting on the safe path to making the leap to living big and boldly as her own boss. We discuss how to know when it's the right time to start, how to take care of yourself along the way, and what to do when you're not feeling so powerful, and how the universe steps in to help you along the way. All that's coming up shortly. First, this episode is brought to us by our friends at York Athletics. York is a Boston-based, family-owned performance footwear brand that believes the fighting spirit inside all of us has the power to redefine individuals, inspire communities, and change the future. Obviously, they are totally aligned with the Powerful Ladies message. It's a 3-year-old startup with a lot of footwear industry heavyweights from brands like Nike, Puma, Reebok, who saw a need for clean, comfortable, minimally branded footwear in the performance space, versatile enough to wear in and out of the gym. Solid nods from the media over the years from Men's Health, Men's Fitness, ESPN Women's, Pop Sugar Fitness, Esquire, Hypebeast, BuzzFeed, and now Powerful Ladies recommends that you get your own pair of York Athletic sneakers. For everyone that's been listening for a while, you guys know Elizabeth McGarry from episode 1. York is where she is the creative director. So give Powerful Ladies some love, give Elizabeth some love, and go check out York. You will not be disappointed. YorkAthleticsMFG.com. And everyone that's listening here gets $20 off their first free pair. Use promo code POWERFUL20 at checkout for $20 off your first pair. Free shipping and exchanges are on them. All right, I want to welcome Ryann to the podcast, one of the most powerful ladies I know, and someone who has been a part of my journey getting to the place I'm at today with Powerful Ladies. So Ryann, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself to the audience.
Okay. My name is Ryann Gaspara, and I met Cara a few years ago when we did some crazy running stuff together.
Yes.
she and I spent the night in a van and ran 200 miles. So that's how you get to know somebody really quickly. And beyond that, we've helped support each other through this powerful lady stuff and finding ourselves. So,
and what do you do and what are you up to right now?
So I actually own a company that has pivoted a couple of times. So we started out as a hotel welcome for wedding business, so very specific. And then I realized that I hated weddings and I hated the wedding industry. And so I pivoted into corporate gifting, and now I do gifting and supply custom products for hotels.
So I love to start at the beginning. So tell us like where you grew up, where you're from, and kind of give us the 0 to 18 rundown.
Okay. I grew up in the Inland Empire, so Ontario Upland area. I went to a private all-girls school outside of Pasadena. And then I actually went to hair school at 24. This is past 18, but I feel like,
okay.
That's part of my growing up. Yeah. So at about 23 or 24, I went to hair school to become a cosmetologist. Interestingly enough, because I felt like it was something that I could easily attain, which we can talk about later.
Sure.
The journey of how that kind of unfolded. But fast forward, and now I'm here sitting with you close to where I grew up, kind of. So that's interesting.
Did you choose to go to the all-girls school, or was that, and what was that like?
I actually grew up in the private school system. So kindergarten to 8th grade in private school, and the all-girls school was just the next step. It was Catholic, and although I was not religious, am still more spiritual than religious, it was kind of the next step, which for me, growing up a very shy girl, going to an all-girls school was the place that I really blossomed and learned how to have really positive female relationships and time with my ladies, and a lot of girl energy is really re-energizing and relaxing for me. So it's something that I still crave and know about myself that I need. So
yeah, very cool. Yeah. We were in the last podcast recording, we were talking about the guest and I having like an opposite experience because we went to co-ed school systems, and how for a long time we never like felt we had the girly energy. And it took us a long time to find the women in our lives that made sense.
Right.
That weren't competitive, that weren't, that were symbiotic versus taking something. It seems like your experience was completely different. Like it was always a build up kind of scenario.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it created a whole different, you get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah.
But the girls that I used to remain friends with all say the same thing, that they really blossomed as a woman and understand how important that female energy is because of being around all girls and going into it super shy and coming out with a million friends and pretty sure of myself.
Yeah.
Although now I'm 37 and finally have like figured myself out. So it's taken a little longer than that. But yeah, I think it was great. I loved it.
So you went from hair school to directly into your business, or was there something in between?
Actually, I was a hairdresser and working in a very high-end salon in La Jolla down in San Diego for about 8 years. And that was an interesting place for me because I was working with extremely wealthy people. Our clients were very wealthy and very stuck in their ways. They knew exactly what they wanted. But I believe that trained me to understand the importance of customer service and customization and really listening to people.
Yeah.
And also prepped me for not being afraid to step into any situation and know who I am, because no executive could intimidate me at this point after being around those powerful women with all of this money and, so that really prepped me for what I do today.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What was the journey from the hair salon to your business?
So I actually made a pit stop in fundraising for a couple of years. I went back to school and got my certificate in fundraising because I was around those women and they were very active in the community. A lot of them sat on boards. That felt like the next right step because I was, in the same community. I knew a lot of the people. And so I went actually into fundraising for nonprofit theater. And my job there was to do stewardship, which basically means all of the hand-holding and loving on people, but not asking them for money.
Oh.
So
it's like the best part of fundraising.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a high level of luxury customer service. And I had to order a lot of gifts and do a lot of that extra touch, as they say in retail,
Yeah.
And so that prepped me, I think, for then getting into my business, which is all customer service based, all luxury, it's all custom. It's the same. I've had the same vibe for years and years. I just didn't realize it until I got to this point.
Yeah. What prompted you to think that starting your own business was next on your path?
It's so funny. So I had been thinking about starting a locally sourced gift company for a while. And I had signed up for this women's, it was a blogging conference in Portland called Hello Sessions.
Okay.
It was their inaugural year. And I signed up for it and I kind of forgot about it. And then I was sitting in an all-staff meeting at the job that I had in fundraising. And the date that I was supposed to be going flashed up on the screen as an all hands on deck event date.
Oh.
And my heart just dropped into my stomach. And it was like instant. I had just made the decision in that moment that I couldn't push myself down any longer. I couldn't just go with the flow. I had to do something and change it up. So I convinced my husband to let me quit my job. He's an accountant, so he's very linear and excels in money. And he's like, so kind of, I figured if I could convince him that I could quit my job and this could work, that I could do anything.
How long did that process take?
To convince him? I don't really, it was a couple of months. I don't really remember. I think I blocked a lot of that stuff out because I was really highly emotionally charged at that time. I was feeling a lot of feelings about wanting to get rid of my job. And the boss that had come in after I started there was not my favorite person. I learned later that I sort of was like attracting this same male figure into my life as a boss. And it just got to the point that I was like, I cannot do this for one more second. And so my husband was just glad to see me happy, I think.
Yeah.
So
what? And you mentioned that you kept attracting this similar male figure. What would the description be for that type of person?
It was somebody who was very dominant over me and felt like they could push me around and make me feel small, throw me under the bus for things. And I started to feel like, screw that. I'm not gonna let this happen again. I just came from a boss that was very overbearing for 7 years in hair. A prima donna, that type of, and then it was almost the same personality that ended up coming in and being my boss after someone had left while I was working there. And so I thought, I didn't even realize that was a thing yet. I hadn't gone down that path to understand how you attract the same person with a different face and a different name until you recognize that pattern in yourself and kind of, get rid of it. And so I just was like beating my head against the wall with this person and I just couldn't do it anymore. I was done. It had been 7 years with someone else and then this person comes right back and it's another year or two with that same personality. It was too much. So.
And while you were going from the hair salon to the fundraising job, was there in the back of your mind still a thought of like, there's something else I should be doing? Like when did that seed kind of show up and how did it finally manifest at that time?
I've always felt that. I've always had this push pull where I kind of I won't say kind of, I didn't give myself enough credit, and I didn't feel smart enough or good enough to, that's why I didn't go to college. And I went to hair school because not that there's anything wrong with hair. I think there are wonderful hairdressers out there, but it was an easy transition for me where it was creative. I was around people. It kind of ticked some boxes, but it wasn't the full picture. And I didn't understand enough I had to go through my path.
Yeah.
As a whole, it all made sense.
Yeah.
But I had to get through those to get here.
Yeah. So you're at the fundraising company. You're over your boss.
Yeah.
You're realizing that you actually are getting lit up by going to this conference.
Oh, yeah.
You convince your husband that financially it'll work out if you quit your job.
Yeah.
And then what?
And then I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I Googled everything. I was terrified. I didn't even know how to get a business license. In retrospect, it's like I probably should have done all that stuff and gotten myself set up before I jumped into this.
Did you have an idea? Like, did you know what you wanted the company to be, or were you going to the conference to figure it out?
Oh, I had a definite idea. I knew exactly what I wanted it to be. And I did all of this work and paid a lot of money for a custom website, and then realized that I hated every part of that particular weddings. I hated weddings. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to. My husband and I spent very little on our wedding. And so to be the person at the end that's asking for money from a couple, it never felt aligned for me.
Yeah. How long were you working with weddings before you realized that?
Oh, God. I think I did one. And it was a very high-end luxury wedding, so she wasn't worried about the money. But it's like I just couldn't get into the networking, and everything felt very fake to me. I had a few friends that I enjoyed, but everything else it just didn't go with my vibe.
Yeah.
So I like corporate gifting or working with corporations on anything that they need more, because there's a separation between the monetary and the emotion.
Yeah.
I don't get emails at 3:00 in the morning from someone.
Yeah.
Which I've worked with other weddings since then. So I know every time I go into it, I know that that's what's going to happen, and that's what happens.
You're going to get your 3 a.m. email freaking out.
Yeah, it's so weird. I hate every part of it. And so with corporate, you don't have that. It's a bunch of back and forth in the beginning, and then they just leave you alone and want to know it's been wrapped up. And it's like there's no emotional tie to the money. There's no emotional tie to the end result, unless except that they want their name to be displayed well and everything to come out beautiful, which I don't let anything go out of my studio that I don't care about. So.
Right. And there's already a known relationship of a give and take for what's happening there.
Exactly.
Because they're also gifting people for usually their business or their time or something else, that there's already been a transaction. You're just kind of closing it.
Yes. So
what did you get out of going to the blogger event, the hello sessions?
It was my first time to be in front of people. I think there were a couple hundred ladies there. It was in Portland, which is gorgeous and totally feeds your hipster artsy soul. It was the first time that I had ever heard someone talk about what I was feeling inside that I couldn't put words to. It was when I figured out that I wasn't the only person in the world that had these feelings. And I get teary right now just thinking about how I felt when the keynote speaker was up there, and I was like, hell yes.
And she was describing like starting her own thing.
She was just she is a motivational coach specifically for women in their businesses. And so she knew all the things to say to get you ramped up and make you cry and make you feel feelings. And so it was the first time that I ever got a chance in this particular part of my journey to say, oh my gosh, me too. This is my journey. These are my people.
Yeah.
They're doing the real work and they're making stuff happen. So
it's real. It's not just me having a weird moment.
Yeah. And it's not just social media. There are real people with real feelings in the real world that are sitting in their PJs with their top knot, not knowing what the hell to do, freaking out, but still doing it.
Yes.
There's millions of us out there.
Well, and that's what I'm so excited to showcase on this podcast, because there's so many women every day, regardless of what they're doing, they wake up and they do it and they doubt themselves the entire day and get up and do it again. Yep. And there's people who, I don't think we acknowledge how many people are like up to something and creating things if they aren't showcased in a celebrity-oriented setting. And so I'm so excited to have so many guests on that people have never heard of and should know of. And you're an example of that.
Oh, thank you. It's like that Chef's Table with Christina Toshi, where she talks about, she said, I did 10 years worth of work before anyone cared what the hell I did. Yeah. You know, I mean, there's a lot of background that goes into it. There's 3 years of work before I'm sitting in a studio in Hollywood recording a podcast or, you know, flying across the country to meet with someone. And you have to go through all of the stuff to get to that part. There's no way I would have sat here 3 years ago when I started my business. There's no way. I had to go through all of the growth and the coming into myself before I would have been able to do that. So,
and something that you and I have talked about is how you hear the voice in your head that keeps saying like, how about that? How about that? How about now? And whether it's a money conversation or other commitments or whatever else you have going on, that you keep telling it to like wait. And there gets to be a point when you can't tell it to wait anymore. And it's like, oh shit, now what do I do? Because I hear you, we got to go now. And it makes me think of the Elizabeth Gilbert book, Big Magic. I don't know if you've read that one at all. Yep. But she speaks about how genius is like the genius fairy that comes to you, and you can either get on the train now or else it's going to get sick and tired of waiting for you and it's going to move on to somebody else. And so there comes a moment of both, like when like I couldn't take ignoring it anymore and knowing like I had to go now. Like there was an external requirement and an internal one, and they just kind of have met. And it's a really scary thing to go through when you realize like, oh shit, this is real.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this year I've done a lot of work on myself, a ton of work. Ton of work. But one of the things that I did was go have this very elaborate astrology reading. And she pointed out all of these patterns, right? So the interesting part is this is literally in the stars for you. It's been imprinted on your DNA from birth. And you can look at the spikes and the patterns. So this is when this is going to present it. This is presenting itself to you. And what did you do? Oh, you didn't complete that task, or you didn't graduate, or you didn't choose to go to that school or that state or take that job. You turned your back against your true self at that time. Now that pattern is going to spike again in so many years or so many months, and it gets stronger and stronger. And I think that is why we wait until our 30s to really step into our own self and get into it, you know, and just go, fuck it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Like, let's do it now, like you're saying.
You know, it's crazy because I'm listening to you share that story. I can feel like my body getting all tingly, like, that's it. That's it.
Yeah. No, that's how I felt it when the keynote speaker was speaking. It's like, yes. On an energetic level, you're connecting perfectly with your path. It's like, oh my gosh, I've got goosebumps inside thinking about this.
Yeah. And people keep asking me, am I stressed? And I think about how stressed I was before, and it was always stressed about problems that I didn't have 100% control to fix or solve, or people that weren't interested in taking the stress away or putting in things that could make everyone's life easier. So the stress was always an external stress of stuff I actually didn't care about having to deal with. And now the one stress I have is 100% financial. And that's it. And it sounds crazy. Like when you're like, oh, like, yeah, I'm stressing out about how I'm going to make this work financially until the ball is rolling. But I've never felt a peace and calm and level of focus that I have now. And I'm so hyper aware of it that there's like a small part of me that's like, oh God, what happens if that stops? But it's not even, it's just there. And I'm so grateful every day that I acknowledge it and I say something about it. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you for another day where I have this peace, feel focused. We've made it through. Everything's going to be fine. And even like with Jesse and I, we've been talking, I'm like, we have a house, we have food, we have people that care about us. Like we don't need anything.
Yeah.
We're okay.
Yeah. Oh, we've been on 3 years of that. So yeah, that exact feeling. And like I said, I was at a point a year and a half ago when I was severely depressed, high anxiety, everything was terrible and the world was falling down all of the time. And I just got to a point where it wasn't even me. My husband turned to me and said, you need to go to, I don't care what you do, but you need to go for a walk. You need to go to yoga. You need to do something with yourself because you are miserable. And I don't like seeing you like this. And so I started going to yoga and I loved it. It was great to sweat and I needed something very gentle and the meditation. And just after that, it was like, self-help books and audiobooks and seeing the astrologer and it's doing past life readings. And I just got super into figuring out my patterns, myself, who was really me. And I realized at some point, like I was looking for me. And I didn't even realize that I had actually settled into myself and the anxiety and the depression had gone away. And it was so refreshing to just be, like you say, there's this weird calm that happens all of a sudden. You're just freaking Yoda. And everyone else who's freaking out around you about what you're doing or what they're doing, you just have the best advice for that. It's just pouring out of you. And I can't explain why, but there is this calm that happens. And I think it's that you're aligned with your path.
Well, and I do believe that there are the universe and you could say your ancestors, like there's a team of energy and people out there, people that you're aware of and people that you may not be, who are rooting for you. And I don't think enough people realize how many people they have rooting for them. And that's also part of what started the Powerful Ladies journey, because it's heartbreaking for me when women say the words, I can't. It's heartbreaking when women don't have people or a place to go to like get the energy and the resolve they need to like get up and keep going. And I feel so lucky that there are people I can call, men, women, who, if I need to get, back to my ideal state of being or to get my head out of my ass, I can call them and they're like, yep, I got you. Let's go. Or there's moments in my life that I can go back to and be like, no, like you did this, you can do this. Like it's nice to have those. And I've been really aware between the coaching I've done and traveling the world, and especially seeing that that's not what everyone has to come back to. And what can we create together that allows more people to know that how much power they have inside themselves and how much support is actually there. And so often it's our own selves that are choosing not to see this support because we don't think we deserve it.
Of course. Yeah. And there always comes a point where everyone is rooting for you. And then all of a sudden you just start rooting for yourself. And that's when the real magic happens. You're like, oh, hell yeah, I can do this. I could totally do this. Of course, there are days when you also feel like I can't get myself out of bed. But you're right. Those people that are in your corner that you've attracted, they've been there too. And they know how to tell you to get out of bed. So.
And I think that we're both lucky also to have partners who are not going to stand for us not taking care of ourselves and knowing like what us at our best selves look like. I mean, Jesse was a similar catalyst in being like, you're commuting to LA, like you're miserable. I can see it physically impacting you and wearing on you. Like, you can't do this anymore. And me being mad, I'm like, no, I can do anything. And then being like, damn it, you're right. Okay, fine. But it was great. Like, it's nice to have somebody in your corner, literally, right?
Yeah.
Who is like, time out.
Yeah.
Like, I need you to take care of you a little bit.
Yeah. And there's a huge difference in the way that you present yourself in the world when you are taking care of yourself, when you're doing whatever your routine is. 10 jumping jacks or meditation or whatever you do in the morning to make you get ready and go.
Yeah.
You need that stuff. You need to eat.
Yeah.
Which I've done lots of days without, just being so busy.
Yeah.
But I'm always thankful for the days that I shower in the morning and remember to eat lunch.
Yeah.
Like, you don't think about that stuff when you're working for someone else. Because you're given a timeline.
Yes.
Like, they say, get out of here and go to lunch. No one's telling you get out of here and go to lunch. You could easily sit on your computer all day, or, in my case, work on a project all day and not remember to do those things.
Well, especially when you're also enjoying it and getting wrapped up in it, and it starts to consume you when you're enjoying it. And like, for me, it's always hard. I try every day to set my schedule from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Doesn't mean I'm working that entire time, but I block out every minute of like, work out and get ready, start working. Like, every hour is a meeting, or it's clearly tasks that I need to take care of. And I put in there like, eat or go for a walk. Like, you have to have 30 minutes of like recharge in the middle of the day. Otherwise you will start to lose your mind.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. Mine is, I like to make dinner for my family every night. Well, most nights. But for me, that is the time where I don't have anything else to do, but I love cooking. So it feels creative to me. It feels like a little bit of a moving meditation. I can lose myself in it. And it's a time for me to relax. I know that's not like that for everyone. But for me, I like to be creative and relax in that way. So I know at that time, I've got to wrap it up and go cook dinner because it's my time to decompress.
Yeah. No, I think it's so important.
Yeah.
The creating... I don't know how you can make it through a day of being an entrepreneur or a small business and having so much on your personal shoulders if you don't put those same processes in for yourself that, a corporation would, as an example.
Yeah.
It's so critical.
Yeah.
So you've been doing the business now for 3 years. You mentioned it's pivoted a lot. Were you expecting that? Were you resistant to it? Like, how has the pivoting come and how have you managed it?
I was not expecting it. I wasn't expecting anything. I thought, honestly, oh, you just take like 2 months to build a website and then everyone comes and buys things from you, which I think is a really common thing that entrepreneurs think. And so I did not expect to spend that much money on a website. I did not expect for it to take as long as it did. I did not expect to hate the industry that I was getting into. I ended up just making my own Squarespace website because that was the thing that worked the best for me in the long run.
Yep.
But that was hard, having that conversation with my husband, because although we are separate as far as like, this is my business, he doesn't get into my finances, I do check with him when there's a big ticket item.
Yeah.
Just because we're partners in life.
Yeah.
And so he said, whatever you need. I mean, I could tell he wasn't excited about it, but whatever you need. So no, I didn't expect it to shift so much. No, I didn't expect to be feeling those feelings of like a little bit failure, but also I never called it a failure. I called it a pivot. So it felt like it was like, okay, still moving. But I had no idea that I would be here. Doing the things that I'm doing now. It's like, holy crap. I can't believe that this is my job that I made for myself. Like, I created this thing and now people are trusting me to do this and hiring me to do this and spending money on this. Like, I don't know. I didn't even realize the amount of money that goes into something like this, as far as what corporations pay or what hotels are willing to pay for the services that we do. I didn't even know that. I just thought, okay, let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. This is what I'm interested in. This is what I'm interested in. I just kept following what I was interested in. And now people are coming for me and wanting me, which is, I have to pinch myself, but I also have to go, all right, this is the fantasy.
Yeah.
Like you asked for this.
Right. The good and the bad. That's
yeah. You asked for this monster. Like you wanted this life. You wanted to build this. And now here it is right here, ready for you to have.
Yeah.
Don't freak out. Like don't sabotage this.
Yeah.
You know? So.
And from a practical perspective, you're providing the corporate gifting services,
right?
Where you're handcrafting what the gifts are, putting it together, delivery, all that.
Yeah.
And then on the hotel side, I know that you're in a new space, so you can't reveal everything. But what can you tell so people can get a grasp of like what that actually is?
So we're creating luxury amenities for hotels and resorts. Basically, everything from hand-cut soaps to candles, that everything is on a branded level. So I look at those items much like I would look at a gift. I take into account what the environment is, who the client is, what the branding is, what we're trying to get across. So I look at everything from a branding perspective. And that's how I look at my gifts too. All right, what's the season? What's the occasion? Who's the recipient? Because I don't want to just send stuff to send it. I don't want to just place something in the room just to place it. I'm tired of cheap plastic crap.
Yeah.
I'm tired of things that aren't thoughtful. And so for me, it's really a mission to impress the end customer.
Yeah.
Like make them feel good at the end of the day. There's a difference between picking up a bottle of, whatever branded water from, one of those companies, and then picking up something that's been designed specifically for the hotel, and just the impact that makes. A bottle of water. It's so different.
I have a perfect example for you. So I have spent more nights in hotels than in my own bed some year. And depending on what year it's been. And I've traveled all around the world. And usually when I'm traveling, I am a carry-on challenge person. So I've got my carry-on and I have like a backpack or a tote and that's it. And that's how I can survive I've done 6 weeks that way.
Wow.
I mean, granted, we're doing laundry. I'm not being gross.
Yeah.
So it's super minimalistic. I'm not buying a lot of stuff on the way, or if I am, it has to fit into those things. I was staying at a hotel in Stockholm. And it was a little bit trendy boutique style because I've been working in footwear and apparel. So you tend to stay in places that are inspiring or that your clients want to meet you because that's the whole world that it is.
Yeah.
And they had a glass bottle that said water on it and had like a fitted paper-based cap on it. And I was so excited about how just the design of the bottle and like how clean it was, and it wasn't plastic and everything was reusable, recyclable. I still have that bottle today because it looks kind of like an old-fashioned milk bottle, and it's like what we put change in.
Yeah.
And that was exactly what you're talking about. It's something random in a hotel that most people wouldn't even see, but it stuck with me to the point where I'm like, nope, I'm making room in my bag for that. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. And even that's our ideal client. Even I'll say that we went on a business trip up to San Francisco, and they had bottles there that had the hotel logo on them. And we filled up those plastic bottles like 3 times in San Francisco. Like just because, and I wouldn't have done that if it was a lame, crinkly bottle from, with a little paper thing on it. It changes something. It changes your perception. It changes how you feel about your stay. It changes how you feel about coming back, about telling people about it. And that's really what my goal is to affect the end customer more so than, obviously making it easy for my clients. Yeah. But affecting the end customer really is my goal.
No, for sure. And the bottle I have doesn't even have the hotel's name on it.
Yeah.
Like it just looks like a vintage glass bottle. And I appreciated that, knowing that it's a country already that cares a lot about sustainability and the full circle economy and where everything goes, that they didn't choose the probably cheaper path of one of the lame water bottles and they brought something special in.
Yeah. It's all just about just be thoughtful. Just take a second. And I realize that my clients don't have time to take a second. They're running at 200% all the time.
Yeah.
A lot of times they don't even have time to be interested in a service like mine. And so my job is to make their job easier. So
that's whenever people have asked what I do, that's usually the answer I give. I make your life easier.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like there's not enough people who are approaching work that way in general.
Yeah. Well, but it's energetically also, if you think about what can you do to provide, like that comes from gratitude and abundance, and all of that sort of energy comes from what can you give? What can you provide? And so instead of thinking about sales and like, who can spend money with me? Who can I get? I need to close that client. I need to do this. I approach things like, that's a really interesting property. I'd love to get in and talk to them and tell them how I can make their job easier and how I can impact their guests. And, it's more of a I'd much rather give my services in that way than sell.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a misconception that most people have about what selling is, right? Like there's always a story of like the best car salesman is the one that just wants to hear about you and how he can make sure that you get the best vehicle for you or your family and doesn't care if it comes from him.
Exactly.
And then you're instantly more loyal to him. Like, nope, I want you.
Yeah.
Like you weren't trying to push me into something I don't need. Like you actually cared about me.
Yeah. I want you to know the facts. I want you to know how to make it better for me. I want you to listen to me and all my woes, and then I'll buy from you. Yeah, that's exactly it. And it's kind of like how people get so hung up about the word networking. It's like, it's just making friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you don't know when this is going to pan out or if it ever will. Just make a friend. Just meet a new person.
Yeah.
And at some point you might realize that you can work together on something, Like I think we've known each other a few years.
Yeah.
We've always been interested in each other's lives, but this is the first time we've ever worked on something together. So, and who knows, we could have never worked together, but at least we can share like stories and help each other in other ways. So it's not about what you can get.
No.
It's about how you can share and what you can give.
I think that's a great thing to ask you about too, because I'm a firm believer in the more you share what you're up to, the more it gives access to people to support you that didn't even know they had something to give you. So through your journey, like what is sharing how have you shared what you've been creating and up to, and how has that changed, how it's evolved and how people have been able to support you?
So I've made a practice of being more vulnerable in general. And sometimes I'll post on my Facebook things that are going on in my life that aren't glamour. And and the point of that is to say, I want to give to people that I'm a regular person who was doing regular things, who thought she wasn't smart enough or good enough or whatever my hangups were. And I did it anyway. And got over my shit. Or am at the top of the hill of my shit right now. But enough that I can move forward. So I think that I don't know so much in my personal life if I need to leverage my relationships in the way for my business gains. But I definitely am about sharing. My journey, just to show you can do it too. I thought that I was not smart and I did it anyways. I didn't give a shit. I did it, so helping out people understand that they do also have that power in them is what I like to do.
So since you've been a business owner, has there been a moment what's been the moment that made you really confirm with yourself that like, no, this is what I want to be doing versus something else? Because there's always the moment of being like, I'm going to go back to what's safe. Or I'm going to go back to what's predictable. So has there been, and if there was, what was the moment that, or maybe there's been multiple that are confirming to you like, no, this is exactly what I should be doing?
It's like an everyday. No, just the people that I've been able to meet in business and the places that I've been able to go with my business so far without any advertising or just being able to get meetings with people that I admire the companies that they're working for and for them to trust me and understand my vision and what I'm doing and align with them. That's what keeps me going.
Yeah.
I just got a random inquiry last week from a company that I didn't know existed before they sent me an inquiry. And I found out that they do so much.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like that. I don't even know how they found me. So I know that I'm on the right path if that stuff is happening.
Well, we were talking when I had called you up being on the podcast, and we brought up one of my favorite terms, which is the breadcrumbs from the universe. And I think it's so important that as you're choosing to follow what you believe in your heart and soul is, I don't know what it looks like, but I need to make a left. Like when you just start to do that and the universe meets you halfway. And it might be something small. It might be something that would occur as insignificant in any different time or place, but it means everything to you. And you have an amazing story about that, if you want to share it all about the coin.
It's just a little, so I think the moment that you realize that life is magic, made of pure magic, and all of those breadcrumbs that you were talking about are magical little nuggets from the universe. Yeah. It literally, life becomes like this crazy unicorn party, you know? And you're like, holy crap, there's so much around that's telling me where to go or that's open to me. And so, I actually cleaned the yoga studio for a discounted rate because, you know, entrepreneurship is like that. And so one day I was cleaning the yoga studio and I only ever find like bottles and obviously like towels and stuff. Right. And I went into the men's locker room one day and there was this weird coin sitting on the counter. And it was like about 2 inches in diameter. So I picked it up. And I was like, this is the weirdest little plastic coin ever. And I turned it over and it was a room. I found out, but I turned it over and it was a room key from a hotel in Dubai. And I was like, I'm in San Diego and there's this weird coin room key sitting in the middle of the counter. The yoga studio is silent and it's just me and this coin. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, what? Of all the people to pick up this coin and find this random hotel key to a place around the world from us is me who deals in hotels. Yeah. And so that to me said, you're not thinking big enough. Like there's so much world out there. Like it's a good reminder to me that there's an entire world out there that I haven't tapped or I haven't even thought about tapping because I think that we just get so focused on, like when I started this, it was a locally sourced business. Yeah. Which I still like to deal in some small vendors. I still, obviously all of our product has been vetted by me. Yeah. And it's all stuff that I believe in. But I had this like zoned in on this locally sourced thing. And I broke away from that and started doing hotel stuff. But at the same time, I was thinking like, oh, I got to go to all the hotels in San Diego. And here's this key. Yeah. You know, and shortly after I got an inquiry from a hotel in Vegas. And then like, you know, I'm traveling to like New York and stuff. And like, it's just opening up so much that I didn't even realize was possible. Yeah. When I started my business 3 years ago, focusing on local goods, going to farmers markets to find, I mean, just so different. Yeah. You know, so that's another little breadcrumb that was like, you go, girl, you're on the right path. Yeah. Think bigger, keep going bigger. So yeah.
No, it's amazing. Yeah. Who had been integral in you getting here? Obviously, we're focused on women being powerful ladies, but it can be anybody. But who are the key people that have either helped you specifically or given you the confidence and support to get here? And we'll start there.
I think that my time at the salon was really helpful because, and also going to that all-girls school.
Yeah.
Because all of those ladies, not all of them, but I'm going to say 90% of them went off to a lot of Ivy League schools and they were go-getters. And although that wasn't the way that I should be in the world, I'm definitely not a college type of lady who likes to sit and learn.
Yeah.
In that way. But being around that, it's always been this like high level of achievement, like go, go, go. So being around that and then being around the ladies in the salon who, you know, they were fancy ladies.
Yeah.
A lot of them, even though they were stay-at-home moms now, had gone to law school and were you know, powerful in their own right, even though they were raising families and this was like a second time in their life, they had done their stuff too.
Yeah.
And so just being around that was what kept me, it has been very influential in knowing that there's more. There's always more.
Yeah.
Like you get to decide when you stop.
Yep.
You get to decide if you want it to be a locally sourced gift company only in your area, or if you want to travel to Dubai. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's up to you where you stop. It's not, it can be anything. So
I remember being a kid and I have always been, still am, someone who does a lot of collage and vision boards. And I'm always ripping things out of magazines that I'm like drawn to. And I remember reading articles and, you know, building, I used to decorate my closet door at the time in high school and always thinking that these people had these amazing lives. And I was always attracted to husband-wife teams that started businesses or women that did. Like, it's always been something that I have been drawn to from an inspiration perspective. And for a long time, I always thought, like, that's what other people have. Not that I didn't deserve it, couldn't have it, but I never thought it was like real in that I could have it until I got the phone call from a recruiter about moving to Germany for work. And then I was like, oh, wait, like, it's not other people that live in Europe. Like, I can live in Europe. And it was such a weird moment of not even realizing that there was limiting beliefs that I had that were keeping me small, but just noticing in a second that you can truly have like whatever crazy ideas happen. And when I was living in Europe, I have so many amazing friends from that time, but we were all working for like Puma or Adidas. We all, like on paper, looked very homogenous of like having gone to school and been in sports and we've traveled and we had these careers and we were like the same people just from every different part of the world. And it was during the 1% conversation. And I was like, guys, like, maybe not financially, but from a mental perspective, we are like the 0.001% because we wouldn't think twice about getting on an airplane tomorrow and going anywhere in the world. We wouldn't think twice about, you know, it's not weird that you're having a meeting with Kanye about Yeezy tomorrow. Like, that's not normal. Yeah. But like to us, it was just normal because that's all we were doing was making apparel and footwear and working with athletes and celebrities and traveling. And it sounds insane. And no one knows who half these people are that were doing all this stuff because you just don't know who's behind the scenes on that. Yeah. But I remember like just appreciating that we were all at a place where because of the opportunities that had come to us, that we really were much more in a conductor role than other people get to be. And that's also so important for a message for me to give people is, to your point, like it's a game we're playing. Like, what game do you want to play? Like, you actually write the rules. Yeah. So like, what rules do you want to give up right now? Yeah. It's crazy when you start thinking about it in that way. But we're so trapped in our own patterns and our own minds. Yeah. We don't realize that like you could be that girl. I've started thinking about, I mean, who is Kanye? You know, like that's some dude that believed so hard in himself that he is where he is today. That's the only difference. That, I mean, honestly, they always say the combo of preparedness meets luck, right? Yes. But it's like also he's manifesting because he's like, I'm awesome. I'm awesome. I'm awesome. I'm going to get this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go and work my butt off until I get there, right? So like, why can't
Kara do that?
Yeah.
Like, why can't Ryan do that? Why can't we also be Kanye? I mean, Kanye is kind of, we all know how he is, but like a little sprinkle of Kanye never hurt anyone.
Yep.
As far as like that self-confidence and keeping going and being that person.
Yeah. It's like, it's where in your life could you be more hungry? And where are you, what facets haven't you turned on and lit up? Because it's not also like coming back to your service level. Like, it's not just about how do you yourself feel awesome and confident and get what you want. It's like, no, like by me not maximizing what my potential is, I'm letting down all the other people that could be impacted by it. Like there's an amazing thought process of every day, like you don't realize how many people you impact. And it could be negative, it could be positive or negative or neutral. Like the people that you pass on the highway, the people that you're sitting at the stoplight with, the people that you're in line behind at the coffee shop. Like you are able to impact every one of those lives. You just choose what that impact's going to be. Are you making someone's day today? Or are you going to be the person that they're having a cocktail over later? Like that's how you choose. And
it's how you present yourself to the world, but it's also how you take situations and reflect back, right? So you can switch as a customer service person. You can switch any situation, pretty much anyone, no matter how mad they are about what's going on. If you're any good manager will be able to switch that around and change their day and make them better, right? So why can't we do that for everything?
Yeah.
Or at least like 80%. I know it's exhausting to be like that all the time.
Yeah.
But just switching your thought, even in your own life, like, man, I just spilled coffee on my shirt, instead of going like, well, this is going to be a crap day. Like, all right, what's the lesson here?
Wasn't meant to wear that shirt.
Wasn't meant to wear that shirt. All right, gonna run to Target and get something really quick, but it's still going to be awesome. So it's your perception and how you decide to process that information.
For sure. Some days it's just topless day and that makes it exciting for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What are you excited about for what's coming up and what you're putting in motion?
I'm excited that people are believing and trusting in me with their very, very big and awesome projects. So that's exciting. I'm excited to be able to provide a life for my family that I've always dreamed about. I mean, I kind of always thought that I would be well off, and that's subjective, right? So it's like, I've always thought like at some point in my life, I'm going to be able to travel anywhere and do anything and like order steak if I want and not think twice or like order that thing. I'm not talking about excess. I'm talking about like, oh, I want the fully loaded Mazda, whatever. Like I want that shirt. I'm going to get it. Right.
Someone once told me that the true luxury is luxury of choice.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what you're speaking to. Like if you want to, you can travel to Buffalo or you can travel to New York, you can go to Dubai and you can choose. Like you have the power to choose based on your circumstances.
Yeah. And luxury is also subjective to people, I think the Target's a luxury over like a Walmart or something,
right.
So it's that's what I'm excited about is like now I can see the clients. I can see the revenue. I can see how it's all lining up and setting up for what I've always hoped for myself, but didn't really have the mojo to put it in place. And now these two parts of me are aligning, right? So my big vision, creative part where I can dream up anything and my actual physical part that includes the subconscious that is like, no, girl, you're not quite there yet, right? So they're kind of lining up at this point, which is really, really exciting.
There's self-talk is obviously a big conversation. February, I think, is now being retermed like self-love month. What are things that you put in place to kind of check yourself and check in and make sure that you're not going into old habits that just weren't suiting you, whether they were self-talk or something else?
I think it's all about understanding that those things exist first and foremost. So when something comes up, instead of just going in the direction that might not be the right, I stop and I think, is this a pattern? Is this something that I can change? Is this something I can correct? Now I am more conscious. I'm more in my body. I'm more grounded. I do a lot of meditation, a lot of yoga. Yeah. I listen to books on tape, self-help, all about mindset and energy, like pretty much nonstop.
Yeah.
It's in the car. It's in my work studio. Anytime I'm doing anything except for typing on my computer, basically. Yeah. I'm listening. And that is an audio reassurance that I'm moving in the right direction. And, if you're told, it's subliminal. If you're told enough times that you're a badass and you can do anything you want, you start to believe it after a while. So those are things that are non-negotiable for me.
Yeah. Very cool.
Thanks.
So in addition to being a badass entrepreneur, you're also a mom to an awesome daughter. How has being an entrepreneur changed your relationship with her and like who you get to be for her?
So I met my stepdaughter when she was 10. She's 17 now. And so she has seen me change she met me as a hairdresser. She saw me go back to school. Then she saw me start my business. She's seen me at my worst, she's seen me like, she came with me to the studio today and she's kind of freaking out. So that's fun. And I'm going to join in my husband and her together as this. Like they have seen me go through all of this stuff. And the nice thing is that they have switched their perception of the world and how they see it and patterns. And they've started working on themselves as well. Yeah. Not because I was preachy and told them they had to, but because they saw physical and mental shifts in me and have commented on how I've changed my life. And so they're inspired to change their lives as well, or at least be more conscious of what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, this is a choice. You get to choose if you want to be happy today or if you want to be sad. I mean, not everyone is optimistic naturally. So that's a choice.
100%. I think often when, people talk about international relations and conflicts, we don't talk enough about the soft influence that you can have in countries by really looking at how mothers and women are operating in that country, because I think it's just biologically how the mother goes, so the family goes. And I think it's a great example of how like you just being like, nope, I'm following my path. I'm figuring this out. Let's go. And suddenly like the whole family shift, right, starts moving in that direction as well. Yeah. And I think that's part of the reason why I think it's so important that more women are finding their voice. Because I think, there's, if you look across generations, they talk about how like history will repeat itself until we're honest about it and like really address it. And that happens on the big scale from a country perspective and on a smaller scale from families. If you look at poverty or abuse or, health habits, whatever they are. And so I think it's really interesting to see more people being aware of their physical, mental, spiritual selves, to see more women getting their voice and feeling that there's a huge contribution to it. Like, people say that the stay-at-home mom is the like most important job that you can have. And I think whatever you're doing as a woman, like you are influencing so many people, like please put your oxygen mask on first. We need you to, as the caregivers biologically of people, like please remember to take care of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And that goes back to like, showering and eating and basic stuff, understanding that you're super important. And if you're not at your best, and I don't mean you're pretty and put on your makeup every day. I mean, like if you feel like crap and your kids will see that, or your friends will see that, or your peers will see that. Yeah. And it's like, a company is only as great as the CEO. Like you can't raise the morale without the CEO having that, because it all trickles down. It's all, we've all been in toxic work environments where everyone hates the boss or hates what they're doing.
Yeah.
And you can feel it. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is the same.
Yeah.
Worldwide,
yeah.
company-wide, household-wide, it's all the same. It's just how you react and what you're attracting.
Mm-hmm. So when you're not working your tail off, what are you doing to have fun? What are you doing to recharge? Like, what does the rest of your life look like?
Well, I love to travel, which is very convenient that that's part of my job. So my job actually doesn't feel like a job, which can be dangerous because I'm doing it all the time.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking about it. But if you listen to any of the other podcasts, like How I Built This.
One of my favorites.
Yeah. So great. They talk about, a lot of the entrepreneurs on there talk about like, don't start a business unless you are okay with it being you and you being it. It really is you. Like it's in your soul. And no matter what happens to it, it's always part of you. So it's really hard to like push that away and make time for yourself. But I mean, it's fun. This is fun. Yeah. I don't feel like I have to go have fun. I mean, this is just, it's me. It feels so much a part of me that I don't feel like I need to step away from it.
Yeah.
Have fun all day. Yeah. Like I actually had to go through the work of figuring out how to not feel guilty because my work is so freaking fun that like, I thought like, you know, this is a work day for me. Yeah. I'm working right now, but I get to just sit in a room and chat with you. Yeah. And to not feel guilty about that is my work. And I love it so much because we're conditioned to think that work should suck. It doesn't have to suck. You can love your job. Yep. Like it really is the thing. And you can get paid for it. You can get paid a lot of money for it. And so yeah, I had to do the work around. And I think that's a pretty common entrepreneurial thing that you have to not feel guilty for having fun.
Yeah. And in regards to like how you generate it, right? And you're creating it and the structures we have about what work and business look like my MBA is in entrepreneurship, right? Like entrepreneurship I should know that forward and backwards. And from the practical and operational, like all that stuff, yes, check. But what they didn't talk about, or at least I didn't hear when we were having this conversation that day, was how there's been such a trend towards so many people working for someone else versus working for themselves or generating their income streams for themselves, that I don't think we talk enough about how you can figure out ways to make money in a creative way that fulfills you. Like, you know, generations ago, everybody would have been doing something like that. Like, I'm a cobbler because I've learned this and I know it and it works for me and it feels good. And every day I wake up and every day I'm creating what my success is or isn't. And I think that there's such a disconnect between people knowing that every day they can take things on that people will pay for that allow them to sustain their life, and that you don't need to be trapped in a corporate cycle because it's seems so far away from like how you can be resourceful on your own. And that to me has been an eye-opening experience. I mean, I wouldn't have made the jump to doing this full time if I hadn't sat down with another powerful lady who's a girlfriend of mine who has her own business. And she just was like, it's a money issue. Get over the money issue. Like, let's just write down 6 ways right now that you can find an income stream. But I mean, it's like crazy. And we did the exercise and I was like, holy shit. Okay, fine. Yes, we're ready. Let's go.
And at the end of the day, like you can always go back to food service. You can always there's always a way to make money. Always, always, always. So don't let that be your stopper, you know, and understand that like, if this is your passion, you got to just keep, the biggest thing about being an entrepreneur is being tenacious, because honestly, there's one little thing that happens that's wrong and you don't believe hard enough in this vision, you're going to quit. Yeah. Because like, honestly, even though I love it so much and you love it so much, there's like at least 50% of the days that totally suck. but in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Like you're like, this sucks, but I'm growing so much, you know? It's like, it's like going to the gym and going like, more crunches, but like, I want abs so bad, you know? Like, how bad do you want those abs? Like you're going to go and do millions of crunches every day and eat right. And, and like, if somebody puts a milkshake in your face, you're not going to have it. You know, it's like, how bad do you want that?
Yeah.
And is it going to happen, you know?
Yes. And I feel often that it's not even about what I want, but it's the fact that I can't have these stories not be told.
Yeah.
Like I can't not create the platform for this other stuff to happen. And so that's the weirdest thing, right? Like it's not like I'm waking up every day and being like I know what this looks like 5 years from now. And I have for so long. And now it's like, nope, like we can't not let this happen anymore. Like it just doesn't work.
Yeah. I find that in my own business too, where I got to a point where I mean, I've definitely said many times, like, I'm just going to quit and find a job. Because there are days like that. Yeah. And I got to certain points where, you know, the universe would give me a crumb and I'd be like, but I can't not see how this turns out. It doesn't look anything like how it started, but I need to see how this ends. Like it never ends, but like what happens? Like what happens next? I need to be able to keep turning the pages and seeing the next chapters and what happens at the end of the day. Yeah. You know, why did I start this in the first place? There's a lot of those questions. But anyways.
I know that you've only known your stepdaughter for 7 years, but how do you think with your journey for knowing her for that 7 years, how do you think that will impact her future on how she views her own things?
I definitely think that my tenacity and my drive to do this and her being able to see tangible, whether it's a cool project that I'm working on or coming to the studio, when she sees those things, she gets really excited. You know, it's like she sees the part where I'm a hot mess and sweating and just so upset about something, which doesn't happen as much anymore because I'm all grounded and awesome. But from those times till now, it's like seeing those shifts has given her the juice, I guess, to like, oh, that's cool. Like you did something and now it's paying off, you know? So that gives her a little insight into what she can do too.
I think often too, the words like passion should be replaced with curiosity.
Yeah, definitely.
Because like passion is such a hard thing for people to wrap their head around sometimes. And there's a great book out there about like, don't follow your passion, follow what comes easy to you. And how like it sometimes are not the same thing, but it can allow you to kind of build your corporate capital and figure out really what you're meant to do. But I really think it is that curiosity of like, but what's over there? And like, but what if I call this person? Or what if that happens? And you ask the question, what if? You start to see it. You call someone, they start to see it. And suddenly there's this whole other existence that you didn't even know about when you asked the question, but you keep asking the questions.
Yeah. I think that's like a very real example of the last 3 years. You know, it's like if I didn't say, what if I started my own business, then we wouldn't be here. So, but also like the hairdressing was easy. That was my easy. Like I want to be creative and I want to be around people. So it felt very easy and like next step for me, which if I got into like, oh, well, I should have done it. I should have, should. But now looking back on all of it, that really set me up for the high level customer service that I'm doing today. So yeah, you're right. You just need to like be curious about something and not just be curious, because there's a lot of people in the world, and I'm guilty of this sometimes too, where you'll get an intuitive hit. Like something will say, you should call this person or you should reach out to this person. Or that company is interesting to me. And that's it. Like you have to be curious, like you have to listen to that insight and then you have to do the step. Like that's the hard part is like reaching out and then they don't answer. Right. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to reach out again. And
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep figuring out how to get into that space that I feel really drawn to. Because I think there's a disconnect between wanting and doing. And the doing, that's the scary part. That's where it starts to get real.
Yeah.
Because people answer and then you're like, oh crap, what do I do now? They want me to work for them or they want me to do this thing, you know?
Yeah. It's like you can't, all the people whose names you write on a list or businesses or, you know, files that you're making of like, these would be awesome clients or people to know, like it can't stay as a file.
No.
Otherwise, it's a cool file that you're going to throw away next time you purge your house.
Right.
Like it has to be like putting points on the board for actually reaching out and doing something with it.
Yeah. You know what's, speaking of the universe and how all this works, I have a whiteboard in my office that I write down companies that I find interesting or I like their design or there's just something about them that I'm really intrigued by. And then I let my little brain go to work inside in my intuition. And it could be like the next day, it could be a week or a month later, but something will come up. Like it's kind of like those sneaky little social media things that happen where you look up a something at a store. Oh
yeah, the algorithm.
The algorithm. And then next thing you know, it's on your Facebook feed, and you're like, how do they know that I was looking at black pens from Staples? You know? And so I think that in a kind of in a non-tangible way, that is this. So you write down that company that you want to work with and you see it all the time. And then the universe starts to go to work and you'll get a hit or it'll show up in your life somehow. And it's freaky.
Yeah.
But it's awesome and you have to follow it. And that's the only way that you get to the next level or the next step.
And I think too, like giving the space for it to come versus forcing it sometimes too. Like sometimes it's just not the right season for like that specific path. Like, so like not forcing things to happen because there's so many other options. So yes, be tenacious, keep trying, but like, don't get stuck on it. Like if you have to move on to the other 50 that are on your list, like move on because one is going to hit. And when it's time for that one, it'll happen. Like we've been talking about this podcast now for 3 years and it wasn't happening. Partly because of me not taking action, partly because I kept getting distracted by the rest of the world and corporate life and everything else. But it did happen once Jordan was available and suddenly it was like, oh yeah, no, we can do it tomorrow. Let's go.
You're so welcome.
Yeah.
No, but really like it was there and like, okay. And it wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
Whereas like now is the time.
Yeah. And the timing is not up to you, by the way. It's like, you know, the timing is never up to you. And the end big vision could look exactly like what you think it is, or it could be something way better. But it's not really up to you. What's up to you is keeping going and following all the little crumbs.
Yeah.
And then you get to the place where it's like even better than you expected.
Yes. Choose to be dazzling.
Yeah.
And like, that'll be great.
Yeah.
I have a question for both of you.
Okay.
For those who are listening who might not know what their breadcrumbs are, what was like, did you have that, like, was the coin for you, like, you're like, oh, this is a breadcrumb? And then did you think back, like, oh, this was a breadcrumb? This was, like, how did you finally realize that, like, you were getting breadcrumbs from the universe?
I can tell you based on what's happened in the past couple of months with this being Powerful Ladies, that when you choose to lean in on something, you know less. Like there's so much that you don't know. And there's so much that you're unsure about or unclear about because you just don't know yet. You just know like, all right, I made a decision to turn right. That's all I got right now. And so for me, they've been really obvious in regards to like being in the moment when it's happening, like, holy shit, thank you. And I think it also comes back to what aligned when all of this was happening to start doing this full time. A friend asked me to be part of a group that's reading A Course in Miracles. And so we've been meeting every Tuesday night and like reading it at home, doing the exercises, and like we just meet once a week. And these are women I've been friends with for a long time, but I had never spent this much time with them without the rest of the group being around. So it wasn't what you would have just expected to show up either. And I'm really grateful that it showed up the way it did. And it's all lining up because it's put me in a place where I'm present to, I'm creating something every day, whether it's Powerful Ladies or making sure I work out. And then also really being grateful. So I had a bunch of things start lining up and all converging that made this easier. I also committed before knowing I would do this full time that every year around Christmas, either through Hello Possibility or Powerful Ladies, I was doing a Days of Giving kind of post. And I was like, well, for Powerful Ladies, I would love, the theme I hear people asking for is how do I have more peace in my life? So I decided to take on doing a 24 Days of Peace post every day through Powerful Ladies. I got asked to be in this miracle book reading. And then all these other things happened where I decided to take this on full time. And they literally all lined up at once where I didn't have to ask if it was a breadcrumb. They just started showing up. And whenever I would doubt something or have a question or like people were saying yes when I was asking, like everything became a little easier and things started becoming where I knew it didn't have to happen this way. And it wasn't just me causing it. And I think that's why they become so clear. And other times they're like a smack in the face, but sometimes it's just more looking at your day and being like, oh, holy shit, like look at all that actually happened. Like I had a breakdown early in this process of there's no way this can work out. Like I need to have a full-time job. Like I can't pay for things while I'm doing this. Had a complete meltdown. Thought it was like the worst day I've had so far. The next day I got up and had a meeting with a woman who's helped me as an assistant right now. And she's like, what did we get done yesterday? And I started listing off the fact like, oh, we have a bank account and oh, the LLC paperwork came in. I was like, holy shit, a lot of huge stuff happened yesterday, but I got totally off course because I started getting like, I lost the being in a place of abundance and gratitude. And because I was reflecting with her, like she was my breadcrumb that day because she brought me right back to knowing, being present to what had actually happened. Things were still in motion. Big things had happened the day before that allow us to go forward. So yeah, it's like it's an awareness, but I also get body sensations of like goosebumps or tingles or like, I had it earlier. We were talking like there's a chill you get, not a chill. Like it's like the literal warm and fuzzy feeling of this is a moment that is a reminder of what's happening. That's my long answer. Sorry.
No, I think for me, it's the same. Like things just start lining up and things work out. But also, I have also asked for a sign. So my symbol is a red tail hawk. It's very specific. It is for a very specific reason as well. I was in Brooklyn in October for a conference. A really cool boutique hotel conference. And I was sponsoring and some of my products didn't show up. And if you've ever done conference stuff, you know how terrifying and crazy, like your stuff's not there.
Yeah.
And so I'm in Brooklyn. I don't have a car. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? And so I'm in an Uber and I'm thinking, this feels really hard. I'm having a little dialogue with myself. I'm thinking this feels really, really hard. And I'm sure there's a reason. And I just need the sign of the red tail hawk to come. And I'll know that I'm on my right path and just keep going. So I asked for a sign. Kind of forgot about it. And I'm in the city. I'm like at this networking thing. And the next day, and I bump into this man. Physically tap him, and he's pretty funny, and we're chatting, and I'm like, oh, are you staying at the hotel where the conference is? I was staying at a different hotel, and so I was asking him questions about how it was, and he's like, oh, it's really, really nice. They have these cool balconies, and like the craziest thing happened this morning. I was like looking out on the balcony, and I saw this giant freaking bird, and I was like, oh. And he's like, yeah, this bird like looks right at me and it like flaps its giant wings and like kind of like screams at me and then flies away. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. And he said, yeah, it was like this giant freaking hawk in the middle of New York. Like, we're in Brooklyn. What the hell is this big bird doing here? And I'm like, my heart starts beating. Like, it's beating right now, just thinking about how excited, that fuzzy feeling. I was like, oh my God. And he's like, yeah, it was like, I think it was a red-tailed hawk. And I was like, fucking kidding me. I was like, oh, you know, and I'm trying not to look like a freak as he's telling me this story, but it's just like my heart starts being faster and faster and faster. And my palms are getting sweaty. Yeah. And I'm like, it's coming. This is what it is. Like, and so he tells me, and I very calmly say, this is going to sound weird, but I have to tell you, you just handed me my sign from the universe on a silver platter. And like, I didn't need to talk to him anymore. I said my goodbyes. Just like, I asked for it and it came. And this is the interesting point. It came in a way that I never, ever in a million years would have expected it to come. I like, if I ever ask for it, then I see a bird or I see like a drawing or I see the word hawk or something, you know, but I'm like, no, it needs to be very specific to the red-tailed hawk and it needs to happen in a way that is, I said in my mind, has to be unmistakable. And that was unmistakable. I mean, he said the words to me. I was like freaking out. So whether it's the coin where I like attached my own story to that, or I asked for a symbol specifically from the universe and it was given to me by some man that, I mean, of all the places, like I bumped into him and he saw a hawk that morning and he told me the story, like crazy. But magic is real. That's all I have to say.
Well, and I think it goes back to your, the trigger people have about the word networking. Like there is something you can exchange with everybody out in the universe, right? So like, just go say hi to people. Yeah. Like you do not know what is going to come up. Like whenever you have those triggers of being like, oh, they look nice today, like say it. Yeah. Because that might be the thing that they need to hear today. And you might be the awesome person that gets to deliver that gift. Or that might open up something else that never would have happened. Like you literally bumped into a man. Yeah. Who you had never met before, and that's what came out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Mel Robbins talks about her 5-second rule where she's like, whatever comes in, do that thing. And it's like if you get an intuitive hit about contact that company. Like if you get I just talked to a man at a networking event that I didn't know, you know, or whatever it is, like answer the email. Like if you get that gut instinct that you need to call your grandma. Like the 5-second rule, like don't let your mind get in the way of what your gut is telling you, because then you end up 37 years old. Like, you know what I mean? There are so many times that you're turning your back on yourself or on other people when you could just say, your hair looks pretty today, you know?
Yeah. We make everything so much more significant than it needs to be.
Or scary. It's not scary. This is not hard. Like, just be open and be honest and be vulnerable and be nice. And if someone's a jerk, I mean, that's their thing. They're the ones that are going to go through life as a jerk. You don't have to bring that on to yourself. So just be as open and honest and nice as possible to people. And you'll get what you want.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And yeah, it's amazing to me how that works, and how I'm a firm believer in you will get what you've proven you can be responsible with. So to your point of ignoring those things that should come up, the more you ignore them, the more everyone's like, oh, well, they're not interested. And it's like, no, like I need that intuition. Like I need, like, please. Yeah. So it's like this give and take. And just like if you were ignoring, someone that you were interested in, like to date, the more you ignore them, eventually they're gonna be like, they're not really into me. So don't let the universe think that you're not really into it.
Yeah. And also a big one for me, always, I don't know if this is female based or I think it is, it has to be. But I used to always think like, oh, they're just saying that to be nice. Like, oh, that person answered me because they're just being nice. It's not real. Like, they don't really think I'm talented, or they don't really think I'm worthy of this thing, you know? They probably just did that to be nice. Like, understanding that, like, no, people, they're busy.
Yep.
If they're interested, they're interested. If they're not, either go away or figure out a way to make them interested, you know? So.
Yeah. Like, there's not as much like BS out in the world as it's spun to be.
I know. It's so much simpler if you just make genuine, you know, friendships and contact with people. I always try and figure out with my clients, I always trust my gut on what's going to be our thing together. Like, everyone you can have a thing with anyone.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh yeah, we totally hike all the time. Like, oh, have you done this hike? And looking at them as a person instead of a business contact is the best way.
Well, that's what they really are.
Oh, they are people. Yeah. Everyone's a person. Yeah. And we get so wrapped up in, like, even famous people, you know, it's like that everyone poops book. It's like, everyone is a person.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we're all people deep down. And for me, the salon really taught me that. It was like, we're all just people trying to survive every day, or, you know, live our best life.
Yep. No, 100%. So one of the things that we're asking all of our guests is, on a scale of human to powerful lady, like a 1 to a 10, where do you feel you are right now in your journey? Where do you feel you are on an average day?
So from human to powerful lady, I mean, aren't they one and the same?
Trick question. Yes, they can be.
Yeah. I mean, like my cousin and I, we're very similar, and we get on the phone with each other and we're like, oh, you're so awesome. I know. You're so awesome too. We're so, oh my God, we're doing this. Like, we're experts in our fields because we decided that we were experts in our field, you know? Like, it's all about what you decide to be. Like, how much Kanye are you going to be, you know? It's like, of course I'm a powerful lady.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm hanging out.
Perfect.
I'm doing all the things.
100%. Yeah. I wouldn't have called you if I didn't think you were, right?
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. No, and like it's so inspirational to see someone just like living it and leaning into it and being authentic about it, and sharing when it's not fun and sharing when it's awesome, and being like, guys, like, just come along. Like, this is a really fun party I'm having. Like, do you want to come? Yeah.
Like, it's so much easier on the side of, I've been on the side of anxiety and depression, and I've been on the side of self-doubt and subconscious beliefs that aren't serving me anymore, and patterns that haven't worked in the past, and recognizing all that stuff and being on the Yoda side is so much freaking better than being on the side where life sucks. Like, there are two different sides, and it's not easy to get to the other side, but nothing that was ever worth it is easy. Yep. You know, it's just, you just got to charge through and get the work done.
100%.
Yeah.
Who are powerful ladies that you've looked up to throughout your life, and especially look up to now?
You know, I feel very fortunate that I've been able to surround myself with friends that are powerful ladies. I feel like I've been able to attract some really awesome vibes into my life. Obviously there's some famous people that I really like, authors and stuff, but I think, you know, you're really only as powerful as your top, they say 5 in your life. So if it's your grandma, do it. Like, if that's the woman that like made some shit happen, then that's one of your powerful ladies. But like, if you have to look to celebrities, or if you have to call in new people in your life, like, it's all who you surround yourself with. Because if you're around a bunch of people that are just sitting on the couch smoking pot all day, like, that's probably what you're going to do. Yeah. So, so surrounding yourself with positive people is the best.
Recently, I think Rachel Hollis was talking about how if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it can be intimidating, but it's also so interesting to be around people that are at a higher level than you. I mean, and like I say, higher level is subjective. We're all just people in the world trying to figure ourselves out. But you don't have to have a degree. You don't have to go to a fancy college. to be a powerful lady.
Not at all.
You know, you can find that power, like I say, on your yoga mat in complete silence. But like owning that every day is what works, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Are there any practical tips that you would tell people right now that don't feel powerful, that like, try this today, try this for a week, and like, let it sink in?
Something that really helps me is, like you say, how your assistant asked you, what did you do yesterday? If I feel in that mode of like, nothing's working, like I try and think of what are 10 things that I've done in the past year or 6 months or a month? Like, write down the things. I'm not saying list them in your head.
Yeah.
You have to see it on paper to understand, you know, like for me, it's years ago, I quit smoking and I ran a half marathon. Then I ran like 20 half marathons. And then I did like all this other physical stuff because I wasn't happy in my job. Yeah. So I was letting it out that way. But, you know, now it's like having meetings with these people and getting these vendors to work with me and leveraging these relationships. And like most recently, quitting drinking, which was a huge one. Because a lot of my old self was wrapped up in that as like a personality, you know? So I just think understanding where you've come from, like if you can get the 6-pack or run the marathon or quit smoking or have the baby, like, or get the job, you can do anything. It's just a matter of like what you put your mind to.
Awesome. Do you have any final statement that you would like to give to powerful ladies out there that are listening?
It can be you too.
That's a great one.
Like, it's not just me. It's not just Beyonce.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be you. You just have to decide if you want it that bad, if you're willing to do the work. Yeah.
Yeah, it's already in you.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, sprinkle a little Kanye, or I guess Beyonce. She's a good example too, because she's like powerful, but also a badass bitch, you know?
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah. So if you can bring a little bit of that into your life, even like a tiny bit, you know, then.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the fastest way to do that is to literally have your power playlist.
Yeah.
Pick 3 to 5 songs that when you listen to them, you feel unstoppable.
Yeah.
Because that and doing the starfish pose.
Yeah.
Like, it's game changer.
Yeah. Get out of your... No, I had a coach once tell me, and it's so true. And it's actually what my husband said when I was at my lowest point. He's like, go sweat. But it's also like, it's like change your physical.
Yes.
Like jog in place for 20 seconds or like do 10 jumping jacks, because that, or a cold shower will like completely change your mental. Get out of the house, go work in a coffee shop. Like, I don't know, whatever it is that gets you, like, you just have to know when your point is that you're like, all right, I'm not going to be able to do this at my best because I haven't eaten all day. Like, I need to eat something, and then I'll be better. Like, I'll be a better person. It's all about self-care.
Yeah.
Like, we're figuring out what your thing is.
This has been so awesome. Thank you so much for being a guest. Thank you so much for being a yes for me in my life, and knowing that you're one of my, cheerleaders that I have on my back. Or I'm supporting my back, not in my back. But no, this has been so awesome. You are such a wise, powerful lady, and I can't wait for everything you have to share to get out into the universe for others to hear.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Ryann, thank you for being such a great guest. This episode is full of great information, quotes to live by, and real-life practical things you can do today to be more empowered and look at the journey you're on. She's the real deal when it comes to taking on your whole life to find your purpose and lean in all the way on what you love to do. I'm honored to call her a friend and so proud of what she's building and continues to build through Gaspara Flora. To support Ryann or get in contact with her or even reach out to explore her adding value to your business, you can follow her on Instagram at Gaspara Flora or visit her website, gasparaflora.com. If you'd like to support the work that we're doing here at Powerful Ladies, there's a couple of ways you can do that. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Leave a review on any of these platforms. Share the show with all the powerful ladies and gentlemen in your life. join our Patreon account, check out the website, thepowerfulladies.com, to hear more inspiring stories, get practical tools to be your most powerful, get 15% off your first order in the Powerful Ladies shop, or donate to the Powerful Ladies One Day of Giving campaign. And of course, follow us on Instagram at Powerful Ladies. For show notes and to get the links to the books, podcasts, and people we talk about, go to thepowerfulladies.com. I'd like to thank our producer, composer, and audio engineer, Jordan Duffy. She's one of the first female audio engineers in the podcasting world, if not the first, and she also happens to be the best. We're very lucky to have her. She's a powerful lady in her own right. In addition to taking over the podcasting world, she's a singer-songwriter working on her next album, and she's one of my sisters. So it's amazing to be creating this with her, and I'm so thankful that she finds time in her crazy busy schedule to make this happen. It's a testament to her belief in what we're creating through Powerful Ladies, and I'm honored that she shares my vision. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. I can't wait for you to hear it. Until then, I hope you're taking on being powerful in your life. Go be awesome and up to something you love. Are you looking for a place to get amazing Powerful Ladies merchandise and shop from your favorite female brands? Great news. You can do that all at thepowerfulladies.com at our store. Use code LISTENER, LISTENER, and get 20% off your first purchase.